I want to say something. A pie, motherfucker.
Leave me alone. Go out west. Give me your phone. Blow it down west.
What's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcaster with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm your host, Demetrius Thigpen, also known as Me Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of Talking Crazy. So, 4 years of podcasting, and I promise you I never had a guest like this, all right? Like, I've had veterans on, I've had active duty service members on, I've had people in different military branches, and, so just to give a back brief, okay? Like, give a back brief of the guest that I have today, all right? Initially, this was never in the cards, you know what I mean? Like, to have him on the show, let alone, I didn't even think that we were supposed to even have, like, a friendly conversation, you know what I mean? Like, when we first, his interaction with me was exactly what I had always imagined from the entire vet bro community. So we're going back and forth on Instagram, and he's like, call me, and I'm like this, well, God damn it, I will call. You see what I'm saying? Because one thing about me, I'm going to fucking call. I'll call. You know what I mean? Because he's like, like poking a bear. And I'm just I'm like, ain't no way that I'm going to be fucking goddamn ran off fucking Instagram. You know what I mean? So we sit down, I'm smoking a cigarette, and I'm expecting confrontation when it turned out to be a conversation. And that's a big play for the simple fact that I'm a podcaster. You know what I mean? Like, I get the conversation when I was not expecting that. And I remember one of the biggest things that he said on there, and it was something that I kind of just brushed off because I thought he was just trying to flex on me. You know what I mean? And he was like this, yeah, man, I did my thing. I mean, you can Google it. And it was that right there. And I was like this, yeah, I'll Google it. And fast forward, here I am Googling everything just to make sure everything is good. And I look and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, hold on now. And I'm like, hold on. I was like, 1, 2. I was like, I know bronze is not the second highest because bronze wouldn't become before silver. And I'm like, this guy's a silver star recipient? And I'm saying, like, 4 years of podcasting, I don't think I've ever had an American hero like this or somebody of this caliber. So it's with no further ado that I welcome Philip Mac McCulloch. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and give it up. What's going on, man?
What's up, dog? That intro got me cracking up. So if you mind, I'll give a little backstory of my end when we were chatting. So my boy, he got me joined the Marine Corps like fucking forever ago. I mean, like 20 years ago. And this guy Bull posted this dude, this actor talking about they're not always Marines, whatever. And I was like, damn. And my way of getting it, so I was an influencer. I have like not many, maybe 20,000 followers now. I used to have like hundreds and thousands. And so like I got off social media. But back 10 years ago when I was doing it, like my way was just be aggressive and like poke the bear. You literally took my phrase, like poke the bear to get people's attention, whether it was some big company or whatever. I just start talking shit, Marine Corps infantry, that's what we do. So I started talking shit to Bull. I started talking shit to Meech. And like you said, I said, hey, well, call me, homie. And we called. And I knew when I answered the phone, I was like, hey, what's up? Like, chill, and had a real conversation with him. It was going to throw him off. So he called me out on it. He's just like, this is not how I expected this. Like, and then we actually, I learned some stuff from him about the Modern Corps. He learned from me. I kind of gave him a little advice from my time, doing podcasts and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, let me get on your podcast. We'll discuss these hot topics that we both align on. Essentially, we verb things differently, but we're different generations of Marines, we're different generations of men, different regionally, So I was like, let's do this. I said, and then afterwards, we'll get a donation going to your charity of your choice, and maybe your followers want to pick, and we'll make that happen, and get that done. And so he's like, fuck yeah. So then we kind of just like weren't going to tell anybody. We're like, we're going to play this out, maybe bash each other a little bit on here, see what people say until we let it out. Well, just the other day, some dude was like, or maybe it was yesterday, it was like, hey, I don't like your comment or whatever on his post. And then like, I was like, well, whatever, blah, blah. And then he goes, I ain't forget about your dog holidays. I get it, holidays. I was sick most of the time. Fuck for the holidays, but yeah. So then he's like, "Going to do podcast?" And I was like, I said, "Name, time, place." Like tonight, I was like, "Let's do it," you know. So yeah, that's how we got here.
Absolutely, man. Like, you know what really did it for me, and I'm not even about to lie. I'm not about to lie to you. It pissed me off because of how much we had in common. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm expecting opposition. And to give a little bit more context, that video, right? Like, that video caused so many from a different generation to feel like as if like, oh, well, you know, the Marine Corps has gotten soft and not in my Marine Corps. And I'm like, dog, like, I promise you the Marine Corps has not fucking gotten soft. I promise you. Let me rephrase that. I promise you that we all are. You know what I mean? Because me and you talked about that. You know what I mean? Because there is some moments where I got to throw my hands up.
With that, back then, there were plenty of soft motherfuckers, Doug. I mean, like, I can name some people we ate for breakfast that walk around and bang their chest, you know, after they got out. I'm a Marine. I'm like, dog, you fucking hid inside the wire because you said you had PTSD. Great, you have PTSD. I'm there for you. But don't go out in the civilian world and be like, I'm a fucking warfighter. I'm like, whatever is our job. You know what I mean? Like that's it. So I am learning, you know, the more mature I get, that the world's in a cycle, right? And every demographic and community and organization's in a cycle. And I used to say, you know, 10% are fucking shitbags when I was a drone instructor. I was like, 10% of the fucking recruits are shitbags, you know? Now I realize about 10% of the Marine Corps, and I'm not on the depot, but from my recruits are now drone instructors. But 10% of the Marine Corps and recruits are actually good motherfuckers, and the other 90 are there for the wrong reason. And what I'm learning the older I get, you know, I grew up in Southeast Texas, right? It was different part of the world, you know, in a good way and a bad way. But like, people communicate differently around our country when they're raised differently. And now becoming older, moving out west. I mean, I lived here when I was in the Marine Corps. I was fucking war, fight shit. I'm learning that people say things that have the same meaning. They're delivered differently, and it's on the recipient of what they're saying, unless it's something derogatory, stupid, or just blatantly wrong. But to understand like what they're receiving. Yes, when you speak, you should always know your audience, but at the same time, your audience should know the fucking person speaking, right?
100%.
And so, you know, doing a little reflection today before I breezed over to the Texas Center, like what we want to talk about. I told you I didn't want to be scripted. And the biggest thing, I just centered myself. You know, I went to the gym, I worked out, and I was like, I have to understand he's going to say things that right off the cuff, Sergeant Mac back in the day would have just fucking lost his shit. But Phil, you know, or Mac, whatever, he needs to take that in and understand what he's really trying to say, right? Because if I want to continue to help guys now, I can't just tear shit down, right? Like, even if I disagreed with you, if I'd have came at you hard, you called me, and I came at you hard again, we would never be doing this.
100%.
You know, these people wouldn't be seeing these 2 point of views, and hopefully kind of bridge some problems that we're going to get into in the podcast. So yeah.
100%, man. And honest to God, man, the frustrating thing is, and I've said it, and me and you also had that conversation where I told you flat out, bro, like, I hate the vet bro community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, my predecessors, you know, not in the sense of, oh, I can't stand my predecessors, but I can't stand the community in which
the culture of that
culture. Yes, that's what it is. This whole, oh, well, because I came in before you, I'm entitled to this notion, or, you know, I deploy to X, Y, and Z. I'm like this, bro, like, I deploy too. You know what I mean? And it's like, I get it. You came in a completely different time. But times have changed, and there's so many other issues that we're facing. And a lot of the issues, and this is the shit that really pisses me off, is that a lot of the issues that we're facing is from this generation. You know what I mean? Like, we're trying to fix a lot of the issues now. And it's like, bro, like, help me. Don't fight against me. And that was one of my biggest. And I talked to you about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to start the first topic, I'm in. I don't remember the first one that was on the list, but yeah, we'll go with it. Let's shoot from the hip here.
Man. Like, I feel like one of the biggest things, and I think the first topic is why is it so hard for this generation to connect with the old one?
Okay, so I had this problem as well when I was in, and I'm going to say a few things here, probably going to offend people. I don't believe in God. I'm not like an atheist or anything, but it's just not my way of life. Don't judge against it, whatever. I fought for people to do whatever the fuck they want. But whoever the higher power is, or the aliens, whatever, I feel like they saw something during my time and just put me in the right place, the right time to do the things I did, to be able to have some leverage over some people, because those guys now that ran me in the dirt, talk shit, said I was never nothing compared to them, hit me in my emails, my fucking DMs, and my text messages like, hey man, I'm like, hey dude, I'm there for it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a piece of shit, but I'm also like, remember that fucking mentality you had that I was never gonna do anything, and not that what I did is anything that I don't feel the right people would have done, that were there for the right reason. But it's like now it's kind of like, well, what are you gonna say now? Like, what are you gonna say? You know, I mean, I did Ramadi, Haditha, Hawklania, saying, and like, what are you gonna say, dude? And the worst ones I will find, whether it's infantry or not, okay, this is a non-MOS specific, is the peacetime guys from I'd say like post-Vietnam era to like the Desert Storm, even some of the Desert Storm guns. I used to drink a lot. Okay, like I mean, it's just my way of life. You deploy so much. I wasn't home much at all in my 2 enlistments. But so you're in bars usually, around where veterans are, or veterans and military are. They will have the tallest motherfucking story, and everybody in the bar just rooting them on like they're fucking John Rambo, And I'm like, you can smell that bullshit from across the parking lot, Those guys, I have come to the understanding that they are so insecure about their service that they go above and beyond to tattoo Marine, Army of One, whatever the fucking mantra is, on their forehead, theoretically on their forehead, to let everybody know, right? That they are so insecure about their service because they didn't do what they thought they were supposed to. Guess what? You know what your job is when you sign up? To the fuck you're told, wherever you're told, whenever you're told. Doesn't matter if it's pulling a trigger, fucking cooking goddamn tray rats, or driving a fucking truck. Do you know what I mean? And the thing for me is, people are like, well, you're a hypocrite. You got to do it all. Great, you're right. And at the end of the day, I would never change what I did or who I served with or the times. But there's a lot of baggage that comes with that shit. You feel me? And there's baggage I wouldn't wish on my worst fucking enemy. This couldn't have happened at a better time. I retired in 2013 medically. I got injured, 3 times in combat. And so I was a Marine, like active duty Marine. That's all I knew from 17 to, my late 20s. And I lost my identity, right? But I had a work ethic and I had just this no quit mentality. So, of course, I was successful in the civilian sector. You asked, what company I have. I don't have a company anymore. I was in the firearm industry, and it blew up. And that's where I was already on social media, but it got crazy quick. And because of my insecurities about not staying in, I let it go to my head. The money, it wasn't just a military influence. I mean, I was across the country, people from overseas even. And we were doing business everywhere, right? In an industry that's very vet friendly, especially with my pedigree. A lot of people really just ate what I did, and I got fucking crazy, like psycho crazy, like just doing anything for fucking clicks. You know what I mean? And a really good friend of mine, his name's Muhammad Lawal. They call him King Mo. He was the light heavyweight champion of Strikeforce. We were roommates. Got me into MMA. We got in a huge argument on Instagram over Donald Trump. And I hate all politics now. Everybody. I think they're all fucking crooks and scam. They don't care about us. But I realized that was one of my longest friends. He was there for me through very hard times. Always had my back. He's my fucking brother, man. Like, legit, we were brothers. And never served or anything, but always supported me no matter what political views, anything. And I let some stupid shit on Instagram, some hype and some politics get between us for a year, dude. And we reconnected years and years ago, and we laugh about it now, right? But and like when he was, world champion, like he said dumb shit too, whatever. But I think as young men with poor mentorship, as a man, not necessarily in your job, he had great mentorship as a fighter, I had great mentorship as a Marine, but as a man and a human, leads to those type of things. So I started growing, just getting big, making a ton of money. And I was unfaithful to my wife, and I just, the party life, the money, the fame. I sold a Glock to Drake, a folding Glock, the full concealing to Drake. Fucking being stupid, right? And I look back and it's the worst decisions of my life. But I let it go to my head. And I was that motherfucker that I don't like now, And so now, I'm going through a divorce. It's almost over. No hard feelings. She's a fucking good person. I'm a good person, We're on the downward side towards 40. And she's with me over 10 years, like ups and downs. And like when I talk about that baggage, like, dude, the first couple years I was out, I was not okay. Okay. And it wasn't that I was like PTSD, like the yard sign, like don't shoot fireworks. I fucking love fireworks. It's America, right?
Yeah.
But like it was, waking up fucking cold sweats, falling off the fucking bed, being violent, like getting in fights and going too far, going to jail. And that's not good, healthy behavior. You know what I mean? Hey, if you talk shit, get punched, cool. But once they're on the ground, knocked out, you don't stomp their fucking teeth in. You know what I mean? You're not trying to fucking kill them. So these type of things kept setting me back in life. Finally to the point where, my spouse and I decided to get a divorce. It's been going on for about a year. And it's been a fucking roller coaster of emotions and finances, and everything else, because I've been, moderately successful. And I've had to mature a fuck ton, dude. A lot. To the point where you have to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
It's not 2006 in 2007 in fucking reinvading Iraq. It's not 2010 in Afghanistan clearing the Sangin Valley. That intensity is great. That passion is fucking great. Like it is taking me places, still taking me places in my life, but it also misguided can fuck you up. And that baggage is these guys want it. And I'm like, you want to be fucking getting in trouble, going to jail? You want to lose wives? You want to lose money? Do you want to hurt people? No. If you do, you're a fucked up person. They say, special forces, like 80-something% of them are psychopaths. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm probably one myself, but not to the extent of where I'm a narcissist, And so these guys get so insecure, I feel they become a narcissist. And they abuse their wives verbally, mentally, physically, and their friends and the people they're supposed to be close with in their community, their demographic. And they pawn off, why PTSD? That's not PTSD. PTSD is today. New in. One of our guys died in Afghanistan, December 28, 2010. I woke up. I knew it. It's tattooed on my body, but I fucking knew it. I didn't have to know the day, like it's an internal clock. And I didn't want to work out. I'd been really sick over all the holidays. I had some bad food, not like COVID or anything, like stomach sick. And I've been eating like shit because I usually eat really good. And so I've been putting the gym off. I was doing 350 maybe like 2 weeks ago. My shoulders, I'm just getting older, like can't take that weight. So I was like, just one more day. I was giving myself a fucking excuse not to better myself today. And I was like, absolutely not. I said, the least I can do is get the fuck up out of bed and feel some pain and drive forward because new in, and people are like, well, you got to let it go. I'm never going to let it go. That's PTSD. PTSD is that, every time one of these 25 guys on my last point, the ones before, all these things that happen, I'm going to remember that. And I'm not going to feel great, but I'm going to go out there and kick my own ass and kick whatever ass I have to in life. And that's PTSD. The bullshit of like an excuse, that's not PTSD. You're a fucking coward and a pussy. And I was that coward and a pussy, so I can say that and I'll openly admit it. And if you have a problem, I'll give myself a number. I'll buy you a plane ticket.
What's so crazy, man, is as you sit back and you describe like, just like other vets or just describe, just y'all as a whole, you're describing my seniors, man. You know what I mean? Like you're describing my corporals, you're describing my sergeants, like, and I'm talking about PFC thick pen sergeants and corporals, Lance Corporal thick pens.
They're
PFC.
getting promoted for it.
Yeah.
In the right command, they're getting promoted. Here's the problem with to transition to the new, no, not new. I don't want to say that. Let me find the proper terminology. The current service members and the prior service members that are now veterans. Here's the problem. You have two types of command. There should be three. Okay. Number one is the type of command we're talking about. They reward people for being bad people, good at their job. That is not okay. Number two, they reward people for being good people and bad at their job. Number three should be they should promote being a good person and they should promote you as a person to be better, but promote you in your position for the abilities you have in your job and your billet. And that's not existent in the Marine Corps right now or the Army. It's just not happening. I have friends across all the branches, and it's not happening. It has become a likership. Social media is a huge part. I think influencers in the military are a great thing, but I also think they're very toxic because somebody that doesn't care, dude, we have talked today and you're like, I've been editing for weeks. And I'm like, I said, told you it's going to happen. It's a hard job, but you're still doing your motherfucking job in the Marine Corps. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm going to pick on the female side. these girls rather post because I don't see. I mean, I see guys do, but they're not relevant because they don't have ass and tits, right? Let's just be straight up. You know, they can't get fucking half naked on goddamn Instagram and get followers, right? They're shitty Marines and they're wasting time on it, but they're not relevant. You know, they're not making an influence, so they're not really an influencer. But these females, they're half naked doing things on social media, and this is not just the Marine Corps, and they're getting clout for it, not fame, clout, not fame. Not recognition, clout. They're not bettering things. These bullshit motherfuckers, and I'll get back to the guys, they're tied into this one too, will say, well, I did this and that. You go look. No, they didn't. And they're leveraging this to be promoted. Social media should have no influence on your promotion unless you've used it to help the community, whether it be the veteran community, the active service member community, or the community that supports the veteran community, the active service member community. And so...
I don't mean to interject on that.
No,
interject,
I remember me and
you had that conversation where, you know, like, and I said it where I was like, dude, like, I just don't like saying that I'm a military influencer. You know what I mean?
You didn't even recognize you were one. I was like,
dude, like, I'm still like trying to get over that because of the simple fact that there's such this negative perception behind it, because you do see it. You know what I mean? Like, you do see, like, and I'm not going to say all because it's not all and it's unfair.
Let's say 90%, right? You know, 90% is fair.
I'll go on and do a 60-40. I'll say a 60 because I don't know everybody. You know what I mean? And I say that because I just don't know everybody. Yeah. But 40%, man, like that 40%, you see them and it's just like, bro, like, come on, man. Like, you know that you're only here just to fucking get followers. You know that you're only here to get clout. I know you in real life, bro. Like, I know you in real life and I know that you're a piece of shit. You know what I mean? The other
as a person and a Marine.
You know what I mean? Like, and the thing that pisses me off, man, is that there are really good ones out there. You know?
And they're not getting it. They're not getting the attention they deserve, yeah.
No, and then people like, and the fucked up part is that we're all just lumped in. You know what I mean? Like, the moment that you say that, we're all lumped in. So we're constantly fighting battles from people that you started. Like, I'm fighting this battle from somebody that you started a fight with. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it feels. And now it kind of hinders that conversation between you and I. Because I'm on the perception of he thinks that I'm just some regular fucking influencer, and I'm looking at you from the perception of, oh, he's just a fucking vet bro. You know what I mean?
I love that.
And bro, I had to look it up, man. Like, I really had to look it up.
That, huh?
You know what I mean? It's already been copyrighted. It's already bro. Like, it's already been copyrighted.
Let's buy it from them.
And they even gave me a definition. But exactly what you were talking about, where at one point there was a generation who felt inadequate because they didn't do the things that a lot of y'all were able to do. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna be fucking honest, dude. Like, I read your warrant. God damn. You know what I mean? Like, that's the stuff that you see in movies. You know what I mean? Like, it's the stuff that you see in movies. So I can see that part from where you're talking about. But on the flip side, I feel like and when you talk about that baggage, where a lot of people now have, because during that period, it was deployments back to back to back. Like, you literally came home for a couple. You were home for like 10 days, and then boom, you're out of there again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was
I was on it. Yeah.
And it was so crazy, but it seemed like that's all that their lives were. And then when they left the service, that's all that they left with. So now here they are in the civilian world.
Let me interject on you again.
Yeah, please.
That's all that I was too, man. To be honest with you, it's been a crazy. I was Sergeant Mac. That's it. And like, some guy was like, "Oh, well, that's your tag." Well, of course it's my fucking tag because it's the tag I've had for a decade. You know, but like, yeah, that's all I was. You know, and I say was past tense because I'm not that motherfucker anymore. And you know, I'm not like soft. You know, that's not it at all. You know, but at the same time, I'm like, do I really want to hurt people that don't know the hurt they're going to get? You know, do I want to let that kind of violence out? You know, no. Why would I? That violence is reserved for a very specific thing: your life, your brother's life, brother, sister now, you know, or your family's life. And that's fucking it, dude. You bring that violence to the table, then you have no self-control. You know, and I've done some crazy stuff, man. When I got out, I ran with some tough people that rode motorcycles. We'll leave it like that. And then I got back into it a few years later, and I pumped the brakes before I put another cut on, you know. And now I just ride motorcycles. You know, I don't do all that stuff because, like, it was when they're pulling you off people, like 1% motorcycle gang members. You're like, damn, something wrong with me. These are registered gang members pulling me off a motherfucker. You know, like,
Now, if
you start to question.
Asking, Oh, my bad, man. I just
No, no,
one
go
of the
ahead.
biggest
I
things
love
I
it.
ask is how did you work through that? You know what I mean? Because a
Work through
friend,
what part? Talk to me about. Give me a little more context, and I will gladly answer. I'm an open book, like I said.
the baggage, like just coming back from the deployments, like how were you
You,
able to
you,
work through that?
so when I was in, zero, nothing, no problem, no questions. I thought I was deploying again when I fucking got back the last time. I was like, fuck it, let's go. Well, 3-5, my last infantry unit, we took so many casualties. They're like implemented shit where you got to talk to a doctor. And my boys are loyal to me, right? So we're in line. It's our turn to go up there. My unit's turn in 3-5, my squad. And they're like, hey, line up. And I say, hey, just get fire team order. I'll go first, boys. So I go in there, and I didn't say shit. I told him my name, and I just sat there, and he asked me a question. No, I just nodded at him and didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
So all fucking 13 retards under me fucking did the same thing. Boy, I get a fucking phone call about, because it was an hour, about a 20-minute assessment, maybe 30 if you talked. Somebody like, we went at the beginning of that day. It was like the end of the day, 5 o'clock. I'm waiting. I'm getting the call, and I see the battalion CP calling me. I'm like, damn, who's calling me? Not from a cell phone. It's 2011. We got cell phones. And so I'm like, damn, I answer. It's the fucking master guns. He's like, hey, they're about to light your ass up. Where the fuck you at? And I was like, what do you mean? I'm in my car waiting for this shit to end. The guys are fucking doing whatever. He's like, hey, just be prepared. So our major calls me. He's like, get your motherfucking ass to battalion CP. So I go there. Fucking BC sergeant major. They're like yelling at the command. One of my best friends was my company guns at the time. He's smiling. We went down multiple units, multiple deployments. He's smiling because he knows. He knew. They told him what I did, and he's just like, "Yeah, that's how I trained that stupid fucking when he's a private." And so they're like, "You're gonna do it again tomorrow, and you're gonna fucking talk." So in there, I was like, "My name's Philip McCulloch. Well, what'd you do?" Went to Afghanistan. Why are you here? Because they're making me. And that was about it. My guys did the same thing. They let it go. Then I was told that I was getting this award, and I'm, try to put me in for a third Purple Heart. I was like, fuck that bullshit. I ain't gonna accept it. Like, you need to go sergeant's course to get promoted. We're gonna promote you to staff sergeant. I was like, cool. I go to sergeant's course. This is my first interaction in a non-infantry centric course with non-infantry Marines. Any females in any course I've ever been to, almost 6 years or so into the Marine Corps, period, right? So I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this, I mean, I've been on the range a couple times with females. It never went well. But my time it was just different. It's a different mentality, different training, different mindset. Which I'm not either way. I don't care. I'm not in charge. It's not my organization. So, but at that time, that's where my mentality was.
Right.
So I go, and they grouped all the infantry guys in the course of 123 students. They grouped 6 of us in our own like platoon, and I was like, this is weird. Well, one of the 6 I went to SOI with and did the recon NDoc with, and he went to BRC, and I just wanted to go to 3-7 because they were deploying faster. So we were kind of reminiscing, and they medevaced me on the first time I got hurt in Afghanistan. We were out in the middle of nowhere, had nobody get us. My buddy's flipping freaks. He picks them up. The first force was out there by us. They picked me up on a bird and sent me out. So we're laughing. We heard you get a silver star, faggot. Like, yeah, whatever, guys. So we're in class, the auditorium at SOI for the Staff Academy or Sergeant's Course. I think it's Staff Academy building, yeah. And so
Is this in Pendleton or in Lejeune?
Pendleton.
I know exactly where you're. I know exactly where you're at.
Yeah. So I'm in there, and like they're like, "Who's the most senior time in grade sergeant?" Blah blah. And these guys are like, "I've been a sergeant for 6 years." I'm like, "God damn, you suck."
Jesus.
This is what I'm thinking. It's like every other day, they're firing them. And like, we're sitting there. I'm fucked up, hungover. I may have probably still drunk. All the infantry guys, the recon guys I was with, are fucking drunk. And I'm asleep. And Adam Levine, his first force, he's out now. He's on the East Coast, Jersey. We're good buddies still. I'm asleep. And Lloyd, I hate being pinched. Lloyd pinched me on the side. I'm like, ugh. Adam hit my arm and raised my arm up. So now I'm the class first. Well, they're like, you want to be the class first? I'm like, what? And they're like, I don't ever balance from challenge. I'm like, fuck it, yeah. They're like, well, come down here and sing the Marine Corps hymn. I'm like, fucking A, right? All right, cool. And now I sang the Marine Corps hymn in front of 122 of my peers and the instructors. They're like, all right, you're it. Well, I ran it like I'd run one of my teams, Like, I didn't run it like I thought the Staff Academy should. So I was pretty harsh. But at the same time, they were giving me my second Purple Heart during that course. So, like, these guys, the instructors, man, nothing against them, but, like, that time in the Marine Corps, like, a guy like me, you just kind of gloves off, like, hands off. You just let him do what the fuck he does. The command's going to shoot your ass if there's a problem with me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Leave him alone. He's doing his job, So I was pretty intense, and like PTs weren't like sergeant course PTs, you know. The way they run it, I don't know how they run it out, but you ran the whole course. They just were there to instruct, pretty much. That's it.
Really?
Like, so, you set the times they showed up. You did morning PT. You did accountability. Everything. It was all on you, teaching you to be a leader, right? And that's one of the things that's a problem now, right? So they took that away from you guys, and so I had some complaints, and the first one. I said, "Come on, bitches, let's fucking get this going. This is how I talk."
Yeah.
One of the female Marines took it personal. Cool. So she reported me. They talked to me. I said, "Okay, I won't say the word bitch again." Well, next morning I'm fucked up, dude. Like I think we're Big Helens. I don't know if you've been to you've been to Pendleton. So like just north of the Christian Eos Gate, there's Big Helens 3-5 bar.
Yeah,
I took the recon guys there. We got smashed. You don't go in there if you're not 3-5. At least when I was in. So we smashed, and I'm hungover, and I'm like, dude, we're slaying everybody today. And so like this Marine is doing push-ups on her knees, and I'm like, absolutely not. So I was just an intense individual. So I'm like yelling at her, and she gets walks off, bro. The fucking course director, like major whatever, comes over. He's like, "Hey, come talk to me." He goes, "Are you drunk?" I was like, "Not anymore." Like smell like booze. It was different back then. And so he's like, "Hey, whatever." You know, he's like, "You can't talk to people like that. Like they're your peers." I said, "Am I the class sergeant?" He's like, "Yes." I said, "So I'm responsible for them and in charge?" "Yes." I said, "And you're telling me I can't tell them to do what I want them to do within left and right lateral limit?" He's like, "Well, that's not what I'm saying, Mac." And I'm like, "Well, it is what you're saying." He goes, "All right, how about this? You don't run morning PT warm up anymore." I said, "Great. Less I got to do." I said, "Do I have to show up?" He's like, "We're going to do accountability check-ins on phones." I said, "Cool." So they changed it. And that's kind of, I'm a caveat here. That is part of the problem. Instead of like conforming to everybody being one, I don't care if there's women, men, whatever, gay, straight in a unit, you should all be one. You should all be treated the same, act the same. You should not get special privileges. So instead of just making everybody the same, saying, "Hey, don't do that," you know, everybody has to do them on these or whatever, I would have been fine with that. But they're like, "We're going to change it. Now you're not going to do these warm-up PTs." And so that's what makes things weaker, not softer, weaker, because the mental stress, the physical pain, the physical exertion, and the ability just to do what the fuck you're told when you're in the military. That's the problem people have now. I don't care. When I was a private, I was taught something very bad. And I hope Mike Watts is watching this, because he's one of my heroes, my first squad leader. But he taught me this. And Mike, you're great. He's a fucking first sergeant now? Something. He's fucking up there now. Maybe a fuck sergeant major. I don't know. But he's like, if them motherfucking pogue-ass sergeants or corporals say something, you just brush them the fuck off. Cool. I got arrested at the gate because some fucking PMO, Lance Corporal, tried to tell me, "I'm a bitch, I'm a private infantry. Get the fuck away from me. We got to fight." I got arrested. You know, middle of the day. It was wild out in Twin Palms back in the day. When I was a sergeant, I said, "I'm not going to do that." If an NCO tells one of my Marines to do something, they don't do it, try and make them do it. And if they're that stubborn, come get me, because I know goddamn good and well they're going to fucking listen to me. You know? And so that became a problem. And so guys that stayed in, unlike myself, are usually the ones that kind of slid under. They didn't go to the extreme. They didn't have the accolades. They didn't work as hard, but they stayed in by just going to that limit, but backing off a little so they didn't get in trouble. Like guys with me, everybody. Outlasted, but then now that we're all gone, all the people that knew who they really fucking were, were like, they're like, "Well, I'm that guy now." No, bitch, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're the ones that we hazed when you were a fucking corporal when we were PFCs because you were that much of a shitbag. But you saw this, and now you outlasted us because you played the game. You just weren't who you were, and now they're in charge and they're fucking shit up.
Hey, I ain't even about to lie to you. That I've said that before, but I ain't never say it like that. And I love that right there. I ain't never say it like that before.
We're recorded, so you got it. But to answer your question about the package, when I was in, there was no time for it. When I got out, it came out in anger. I'm talking anger. I mean, look at this pinky. That pinky ain't fucking normal. You know, that motherfucking finger ain't straight. Like, I fought and fought and fought and fought. That's what I love to do. I did MMA. I fucking fought. Jail, fought, you know? And it just got to the point, I lost my first wife and I'll be 100% honest with you. We first got married so we could just live together. And then I was gone time. She was like, "Fuck, peace out." I said, "Cool, peace," you know? We didn't like each other, so peace. My wife that I'm divorcing now, love of my life. I'm the love of her life. It's not even a question. Sorry for any dude out there. She's beautiful that tries to get with her. She's mine forever, and it sucks, you know? I mean, she was my punch bag, not physically, but she was my punch bag, you know, for all my problems. And so, like, anger, it just fucking anger, dude. And, like, she got to the point, you know, 6 years into marriage, she knew it. So, like, my friend was getting married. He's an army infantry guy. cop in my hometown. I was in his wedding, and the night prior we did the rehearsal dinner. We're at a resort, and they called me down, and Lindsay was like, "Hey, like these cowboys are talking shit to them. It's Texas, like you should probably just stay away." I said, "Cool," so I did. But then they started getting crazy, and he started to try to break it up because even then I knew like the level of violence I would go to instantly was just like too much. So I'm not gonna get into stories. It's not a I love me story, but just we got in a fight, me and these three guys, because everybody else was incapacitated in some capacity from what happened. Uh, Two of them left in stretchers and one limped away, and like broken legs and fucking fractured skulls and glasses of scotch busted in fuck people's eyeballs. And my wife sat there, and I remember this is probably one of the turning points for me. I sat there and I looked at her, and there's blood fucking everywhere, and I'm just like in sweatpants, dog, in a shirt like I am now. Everybody's dressed up still, and everybody's just kind of staring at me. And I'm like, damn, this went real far high and right real quick. And so I go to the bartender. I'm like, and my friend was chief of police in another town. I was like, what do I do? He's like, probably going to jail, dog. Like this is. I said, I'm not drunk. He goes, I know. He goes, this is too far. And I was like, he goes, I love you. I'll get you out, whatever. I said, cool. So I go to the bartender and I was like, hey, if I cannot go to jail, because they're going to ask you, because you're the only neutral person here, you ain't see shit. Here's $1,000. Boom. OG dude for fucking Third Ward, Houston. Like my homies grew up. He's like, I got you, dog. I was like, cool. Took the money. You know what I mean? Them cops came. They tried so hard to put me in jail, and that dude was like, I ain't see shit. And I kept telling him, I was like, damn, I fucking love it. But and of course at that moment I was like fucking jacked up. Yeah, I'm getting away with whatever. But sorry, my chew. That moment when I looked over at her and everybody was staring at me, and she was just like this, like didn't face her. This is the 20th time she's seen people bloody and fucked up and reeling off in ambulances. It didn't face her. I was like, damn, I fucked her up. You know what I mean? And so then I started wanting to change. And when I wanted to change, I was like in internal conflict.
Yeah.
So I started going worse, dude, like worse, like drugs and drinking and fucking, because I hated myself now at this point. Now I had self-awareness and I hated myself. So I was like fucking partying, being crazy and being a piece of shit husband, just everything bad, because I was taking out on myself. I didn't want her around me because I was like, I'm only hurting her more. So I moved up to Houston and I'm partying and being crazy. Women, drugs, I mean, just stupid shit that no man should do with self-respect, and destroying my body, my mind. And so I realized I lost her, and I called a buddy that was, he was a Marine when I was in a DEP program. And then went to this bullshit organization called fucking Mighty Hoax. Stay away from it. Chad Robichaux's a fraud. But we went there together, and we saw each other like 12 years later, and we're like, oh, damn. Like, maybe 14, 15 years later. Remember each other. We lived right by each other. So I called him. I didn't know who else to call, right? I was just like, I was embarrassed about what I had been doing. I didn't want to tell any of my guys or guys I served with, or my seniors or my peers or my juniors. But I knew that he was kind of like, he had a rough past when he got out. And I didn't care if he didn't like me or judge me at that point. And honestly, I tell Joe this. And I was like, dude, he goes, what's up? I heard from you a long time. I said, well, kind of in a pickle. He goes, what you need? I said, I'm not that kind of pickle. He goes, what? And this is honestly the truth. I've told a few people this in a quasi-public setting, like as in a group, not on a podcast. But I've been partying, and shit, and I sobered up. It's funny, as much as I hated Muslims back then, I'm like following their fucking technique. I shower, I shave, I clean up, and I get in my bed, and I called my drug dealer. I was like, hey, I want some heroin. And he's like, what? You don't do heroin? I was like, well, I want some. He goes, I'm not selling to you. Because you're a veteran, you're fucking crazy. I was like, oh, it's for some chick. He's like, oh, okay. Drug dealers make money, right? So he brings it. I'm in the bed, and I got a lot. And I was just going to bang off. I've never shot anything up ever, So I'm like YouTubing this. And so I'm laying there, and I don't know. I just said, I got to call Joey. I don't know why. He was the one that popped up. I called. He said, take your ass. Are you sober? I said, yeah, take your ass in your Tahoe and drive down to Galveston. Sit in the driveway. She'll let you at some point. So I had like my work phone, my personal phone, and my burner phone. All iPhones. I unlocked all of them. Didn't delete a thing. I fell asleep in the driver's seat. I texted her, said, I'm here. Please I need some help. So she comes. She don't let me in. Then it gets later in the day. She lets me in. She takes me in the spare bedroom, cleans me up. And she lets me sleep off just a year of being a degenerate, right?
Yeah.
And so she calls a good friend of mine. He was in first or fifth group. Yeah, and he's a ranger. He was in Grenada. He's older. got bronze stars with V and Grenada, and fucking one of my heroes. So Jerry drives me up to this hospital. It's the only place that would take me in. And they're like, "You're crazy," and I'm like, "I'm coming off drugs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of drugs for a long time. This ain't crazy. I'm just feeling like shit." To pump me up with a bunch of meds, and I'm tripping in there. I'm like, my body's very sensitive to shit like this. Never been high, like big on medication and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I need the fuck out of here. So I'm calling her, like, "Give me the fuck out of here." She's like, "I'm not letting you out, dude. Like, till they tell me what's wrong with you."
And this
I'm
is
like,
this is at rehab. This is rehab.
It's a mental hospital kind of.
Oh,
like
okay.
They took me as an inpatient for PTSD,
Tracking.
private hospital. And so I'm like, she calls a doctor, like the best doctor, like in the city of Houston. You know, it's like top 5 in the country psychiatrist. He comes and sees. He happens to volunteer at that facility, but he came just to see me. He's like, "Oh, you're bipolar," and I was like, "Nah, no, I got drama and baggage, but I'm not." So they're giving pills, and she's like, "Okay, he diagnosed you like with whatever. We'll run with it. I'm gonna get you in a place where you can work on PTSD, right?" Because she agreed the bipolar thing was a little weird, right? So I go to Camp Hope. You heard of Camp Hope?
I've
PTSD
never-
Foundation of America.
No, I have not.
Listen, these organizations need to be called the fuck out, but I don't get into that right now. We'll do another podcast. Hold me to it.
I hear that.
And so I go there. It's combat veterans, mind you. I might have been one of 3 combat veterans out of 70 guys.
Right.
The fucking bullshit stories and the shit they let get away there with the lies and the manipulation and the theft from our government. Why guys that need benefits aren't getting them is because these fuckers are, and they help them get them. I fought tooth and nail, motherfucker, to just kill everybody there, and they kept letting me stay. And then finally they were like, "Well, you need to pay for your own counseling because you have money." I'm like, "Bullshit, this isn't a fucking part of the program. I wouldn't pick this goddamn Jesus counselor anyways.
Yeah.
Tell me God's gonna fix my problems. No, I'm gonna fix my problems with hard work, you know." So I leave. We're working on things, me and my wife, just not working out, man. She had done some stuff at this point. I had just a fucking nightmare. So we're committed though. We love the shit out of each other still to this day, you know. And so we keep trying for more years and years. I go back to work, thought it might help. I start making a lot of money again. And money to an immature person is a very bad thing. Okay. And I'm talking like a lot of money, like
Yeah.
7 figures a year money, you know, not like, oh, I make $200,000. I'm talking like after tax deductions, I made $900,000, you know, like,
Right.
like legit money.
Yeah.
And so it gets bad again. We're fighting and shit. And so last year I told her, I said, "Think we should separate." And she's like, "Okay." And I know I have issues, right? Like I know, but I keep telling myself it's not these medications. So like 2 years ago, I got off all medication. I was like just working hard on myself, right? I got my diagnosis removed. They're like, "It's wrong," you know, like all this bullshit. So she's like, "Let's go on an anniversary trip last December. Let's just try, you know." I'm sleeping in we have a house on the water down Galveston. I'm up in one of the other master suites. She's downstairs. And I'm like, "Okay." We go, and just some shit came out between us that we both did, and it was horrible. It crushed both of us. Came back, I was like, she tried her best to be the best wife she ever was, and she was. I wasn't accepting it because I was immature and didn't want to accept what I had done, right? So then I moved back up to the other room. I left in February of this year.
Yeah.
We already filed and stuff. And I realized, like, I can't control what she did. I can't control what invested. I control what the fuck I do,
Right.
you know? And I guess I have to say, like, you have to want it, you know? You have to want to change. I am not an active duty Marine anymore. I am a Marine. I will always be a fucking Marine. That's where we met because of this. And now maybe you understand why I'm so passionate about it. Like, I am a fucking Marine. Till the day I fucking die, I will be a Marine. But I'm not an active duty Marine anymore. I am not Sergeant Mac anymore. I'm Philip McCulloch, formerly known as Mac. You know? And that's when, you know, I started realizing it. And so I was traveling a lot from February to June. And single guy with my disposition, probably a bad thing to be nomadic. You know, you should have some roots and some responsibility and accountability. So my older sister and I've been like this my whole life, and her husband and I've been very close for 18 years that they've been married.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Just come to Arizona. Come where I was born here. Come here, just like start over. You know, fresh. Yeah. Nobody wants anything from you." Because a lot of people with my background, they like trying to leverage shit and they want money and this and that. And so I come out here September 1st, like first week of September. At first, I was trying very hard, and I felt change, but not the change I needed. Like the change when you go to boot camp change. Well, at least when I went, right? And so, or change when you come back from first combat deployment, like you actually went in combat, you know? And then one day I woke up and I was like, "Oh my God, like I am the problem. You know what I mean? Like, it's me. And I'm not saying other people didn't do things or have accountability or lack of accountability for themselves, but like, I realized no one else matters. And that's not being selfish, but no one else matters in it. I'm responsible for me and my actions, you know?
There was a moment where you had said, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, we were on timeline. I get it.
Yeah, no, I completely forgot that we were even on an episode. I was just listening to you talk, but there was a moment where you said self-awareness made you hate yourself, and I feel like that resonated throughout the entirety. Once you said that and you just started explaining, dude, like it just made so much sense, man. Like, and I just really just wanted to just reiterate that when you started to realize, like, is it that once you started to be aware of your actions, that's when it just started to spiral even more out of control?
100%. Like I said, when I sat there, I mean, like, these guys were fucked up, like, bad. I don't want to get into too much detail, but like, I mean, I inserted a glass of 25-year Macallan inside this dude's face. Like, it was no more face. And I'm 215, 220 pounds any given time right now. I was 235, 240, and angry and on drugs. And I mean, there was no more face. And I continued to beat him for a while after that. I mean, he left C-spine, not breathing. The other guy's leg was completely broken. Like, I kicked him right above the knee sideways and shattered his fucking femur. And the other guy was just beat the fuck. And then, like, when I saw that, like, that level of violence and carnage, and my friend that was in combat over there, like, and his wife and all these guys that were combat veterans just fucking like, oh shit. And my fucking wife is sitting like this. Drinks her water. I'm like, that clicked. What the fuck is wrong with you? You're a crazy person. And I was back then, you know. Now, obviously, I'm not. But like, I was like, that was the moment in my entire life, I'd say, that I became self-aware of the destructive actions to myself. Because no one gets hurt at the end of the day but me.
Yeah.
No one gets hurt. No one goes to jail but me.
And I think
my fucking mugshot on the internet, you know?
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, I'm tracking. That's why, like, when you said Texas, I was just like, yeah, I'm tracking Texas. I got arrested. I got arrested in Texas a while back. So like, I knew it was in New Braunfels. I don't know if you've been to New Braunfels. Like,
yeah. You're going to get arrested in New Braunfels.
Everybody keeps saying that. Like, when I got there, they were like, yeah, you get arrested. Everybody gets arrested in New Braunfels. I was like, I don't want to be arrested in New Braunfels.
I'm not racist, but you're a black guy with a non-Southern accent in New Braunfels. So you get arrested.
I immediately got arrested. Like, that's a story, and it's a story for another time, but that's the reason why I have a mugshot now, is because of New Braunfels, Texas. And I was in the Marine Corps. That was actually like my second time being arrested in the Marine Corps. You know what I mean? So like, that's beside the point. But the one thing that just stood out the most, man, especially when you hear that story and everything, you fucking demolished this guy. I'm already creating it in my head. You know what I mean? And it's something right out of a fucking movie. Like it's one of the Netflix. You remember? Have you ever seen The Punisher on Netflix?
Yeah, of course, I love Punisher.
Okay, so it's just like that jail scene where he fucks those guys up, and as he's just everything's starting to dial down, and you just see the damage, and then you look over and you see your wife, who's completely unfazed, normal. And
that's scary.
Dude, that sent chills down my spine, because it's like she has become so numb to it all, and she's so used to doing this, that it's just like, I mean, I don't understand why everybody else is so surprised. This is normal. That is crazy.
So I do want to get into your comment that made us meet, and because I kind of touched on it, right?
Yeah.
The inboxes that I get are hilarious, and of course I'm gonna talk shit back. You talk shit to me, I'm gonna talk shit back to the internet, you know, because 99% of them would never come to my face and say this, but I know now, after our conversation when I was in my truck, you were smoking your cigarette. I always got jealous because I had no nicotine, remember? I was like, I know what you meant, right? Like, and that's one of those things where it's a double-edged sword. One side of me is like, I feel like you should understand your audience. And the other side of me is like, I should understand what he's trying to say because he's a different person than me, right? Mm-hmm. So let me say from my perspective, my beliefs, and let me say what I believe you're trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong when I get to that point. My beliefs are, the reason the Marine Corps is different is because we're always Marines. Mm-hmm. Now, always being a Marine doesn't mean being a piece of shit person. Doesn't mean using it as an excuse. Doesn't mean, like we talked about, going home and yelling at your fucking, I was a drill instructor. I hated yelling. Look at my voice. Forever, the rest of my life, it's going to be like this. I wasn't that guy. When people were like, oh, you're a drill instructor, and then they'd meet me and they'd be like, you're not a drill instructor. And I'm like, I was probably one of the most intense drill instructors you ever met because that was my job. I have videos I'll show you. Fucking slaying bodies. But that was my job. And my life and my way of life was being a Marine, but my job at the time was being a drill instructor. I didn't go treat people like they were recruits, which 99% of drill instructors do, and they're fucked up. That's not okay. Being a Marine is who you are as an identity in my mind. It is not who you are in action all the time. When I say in action, I'm gunfighting. You know, I mean like the way you communicate, the way you talk to people, the way you respect people, the way you perceive things. I'm intense as fuck, okay? And people are like, oh, you're intense because you're a Marine. I was just fucking intense at like 7 years old, dude. It's just my personality. But I would never, ever do something now. My dark times, yes. Do something now and say, oh, it's because I'm Marine. No, I'm not leaning on that because I'm a fucking moron, you know? And when somebody says that to me, I'm like, because you're an idiot, you know? Like, so I think what you were trying to say is like, hey, we are Marines for life. We are bonded together, male, female, whatever, bonded together as Marines for life. But when you're out in town and somebody's not fucking up and you just want to act like a Marine, you should get smacked because you're not active in service, in uniform, being that motherfucker, you know? And they leverage it as an excuse. And I think that's kind of what you were saying in my perspective. And that's kind of how I feel. And I would love to hear like the actual in depth. I told you I wanted to wait for this podcast.
100%, man. Like, and I'm glad that, listening to your perspective, you see what I'm saying? Like, it really helped, like, just the overall, and it's the reason why I made that video. You know what I mean? Just like what I had said, man, like, you sound exactly like one of my seniors. You know what I mean? Like, I swear to God, like, you sound just like my sergeant that had me as a PFC to Lance Corporal, but they were great Marines, but failed marriages, don't see their kids, drinking problems, dealing with PTSD, baggage. The exact same thing that happened to you when you got out, that happened to them or something similar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And once again, I learned from them. And I picked up those exact same type of habits because they never taught me how to be a good father.
Be a good man.
Yes, there it is right there. They never taught me that, but they made sure that I was a good Marine. And I was, you know what I mean? And I remember.
I believe you still are. I checked into you.
I'm pretty.
Into you, dog. I know everybody. I made some phone calls before I got on this motherfucker. I was like, hey, I'm going to get blindsided. Like, nah, he's a good fucking Marine. Now I was like,
I appreciate that.
Okay. yeah. I made some phone calls.
But what a lot of people don't know, man, is that I had a bad drinking problem. You know what I mean? Just like what I had told you, dude. Like that when I got arrested in New Braunfels, that was my second time. I would get arrested another time after that, literally like a year apart.
Damn, we should have been in the same team.
God, you know what I mean? Like, hey, that's you're the second person to say that when I tell them, like, and it's just like, dude, like, not a lot of people knew that about me, where I was fucking showing up to work drunk, but I was just so much better than everybody else that nobody would know it. And I remember,
or if they did, they didn't say shit because you were getting shit
that's
done.
That's it. Like, I'm smelling like it, but nobody's gonna say anything because he's knocking that shit out the park. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm talking about going through a separation. Kids are now in Arizona, and I'm sitting there by myself, alone. And I remember, and when you said that, and you got to sit with that shit by yourself, it's a shitty, dude, it'll kill you, man, because it's just like, you haven't, and the crazy part is that you haven't sat with yourself in a long fucking time. So when you said self-awareness made you hate yourself, I remember saying that to myself, like, dude, like, all of these plaques, all of these awards, all of this shit don't mean a fucking thing because I'm in this big ass house by myself. And that's what I made Not a Marine 24/7. I had made it back then, but I didn't vocalize it until
I knew it was an older video. I'm glad you said that because I knew it was an older video.
Yeah, it's an older video.
I wanted to say anything because, and I wanted to hear the story because I love seeing things for the first time.
Yeah.
So I'm very animated. It's like people see my reaction. But yeah, I knew it was an older video. And I knew, I knew pretty much when I first saw it, like, I get what this guy's saying because I obviously know. But I knew if I'm not very active, like a real influencer would be now on there, and I just post goofy shit. But I knew if I just came and checked, hey, DM you, you'd be like, whatever, right? And so, and you should because you have so many people hit you in the DM, right? And so I was like, I'm putting him on blast, I was like, but I'm not gonna talk to his family, and I'm gonna wait for him to respond. I'll stop and wait for him to respond. And that's exactly what happened. I stuck to my plan. It worked. Now here we are. But I knew that video was older, and I knew that was from a very hard time because the man that I talked to was not the man in that video, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the loneliness is the worst, man. It's
Dude.
the worst.
And the crazy part is that idea, dude, like that idea had been, because I recorded that video in like January of like this year, you know what I mean? Earlier this year.
Yeah.
And I resurfaced it. But that idea had been sitting with me for almost 4 years. And it was because of that idea that I became a better person, because I was like, dude, like there's so many other aspects about yourself that you don't even fucking know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You used to just say like, and correct me if I'm wrong, how many times have we said, hey, when I EAS, I'll just deal with that role when I get there.
I did. That's exactly what happened. That's my story. Yeah.
and that shit, and that was me. You know what I mean?
That's dangerous.
I wasn't a fucking podcaster. I wasn't a speaker. I wasn't an author. I was just preparing to either EAS or retire. And I was just like, I'll deal with that, dude. And it took a long time to start looking at other aspects about myself, man. But that's where that video came from.
Well, I think it's a good thing you did it, you know? And everybody's gonna have their opinion. Fuck them. Yeah, straight up. Like if you're not willing to talk about your opinion, intellectually articulate it and back it up, and actually have something of substance to justify your feelings, then fuck off. Your opinion's not really. Or the people that aren't even in the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
I love the DMs I get about this, that people aren't in the Marines. Well, I'm not a soldier all the time. You're right, bitch. You're not a soldier all the time. You're not a United States Marine. There's a difference.
Yeah.
I love my response to that. I already have that copied and pasted in my notes.
And I think the biggest thing, man, is that, and once again, like I'll tell you, even then, like it killed me because me and you had so much in common from different eras. And
crazy, right?
You know what I mean? Like I was like, God damn it, we got a lot in common, and we're on the same page on it. We're just calling it two different things. You know what I mean? Yep. Like fucking, and that's the weird part. And I was just like, man, if people could really understand what I'm talking about, then we'll be able to connect those dots. You know what I mean? Like if we could have that conversation, we will be able to connect those dots, because there is so many people that are dealing with a lot of the shit that you talked about. So many people are dealing with Yep, just like what you're about to say.
They suck it in, and here's some stuff, because we got a little bit of time. So, one, I removed myself from social media. I removed myself from the public eye, and it was for me, and it was the best thing I ever did. I feel like I'm at the point to inject myself in small doses, because unfortunately, these guys, they're so insecure and their egos are so big, which is so weird how that happens to men, right? Yeah. Women do the opposite, which is weird. But men, their egos get bigger, they get more insecure. The more insecure they get, the egos get bigger. But someone like me, like you, and when I say like me, I'm not saying I'm different. Somebody that has had the opportunity to do things I've done in my service, they're not going to push me away. They will a few times at first. Like, oh, I've had guys, but I'm a persistent motherfucker. And so they're going to continually see me out here pushing this. They're going to hear you talking about it. And I hope we will do this again. I don't hope. I know we will. But this is where change starts. This is where we start to make a difference, like we talked about. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I got to stand up.
No, you're good.
This is where we make the difference that we were talking about, that we want to do. This is where we bridge the gap from the current service members to the guys that were prior service, or girls that were prior service, you know. And so, yeah, this is that time. I think we're going to look back a couple of years from now and be like, man, we made a difference. And the reason why is we set our personal insecurities, our personal misconceptions. And that's the big thing. We got to accept this. We're fucking wrong a lot. You know, as humans, we're wrong a lot. If we're fucking good and great at everything, we'd all be succeeding. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, the most successful people are feeling the most at life. I know quite a few people that are in the billionaire club, and I'll tell you right now, they've fucked up lives, dude. I chased that, you know. I think really at the height of it, we were doing stupid stuff, and I chased it, and I realized, looking back, like, I'm so glad I never made it.
Yeah.
So glad that I did not get to that level where there's no going back. You know, there's no chance to reinvent myself because too much is invested, too many lives rely on it, and it's a humbling thought to think my failure saved me.
I love that, man. That's powerful, man.
So, yeah, I think that guys need to start to focus on being a good human, and you'll be a great Marine. You know,
I love
um,
that.
yeah.
I
So
love
like
that.
these things are things that it wasn't thought of yesterday. These things are things that a fucking hard life of letdown, loneliness, failures, lost brothers, lost wife, injuries, drugs, lost money, made money, infidelity, life and death situations, heartbroken, loneliness has taught me, and any guy that fucking wants to say like, I'm gonna bash on the SF community real quick. It's like, oh, I did it for 15 years, 20 years, and never had an issue. Well, fuck you, because I know guys that were troop sergeant majors of Delta Force. That are my friends. I'm actually gonna go see soon. They got stuff going on,
Mm-hmm.
but they'll tell you. I'm not gonna put his name out there, obviously, but he's like, Mac. He's like, or he calls it PJ. But he's like, PJ. He's like, you were just in it all the time. He goes constantly. I'm like, yeah. So there's a difference, when you become so numb. I'm kind of looking up at the sky right now because I love it, but it's so numb and just incoherent to what's really going around you because you're surviving, whether
Yeah.
it's in combat or when you get back with all the chaos, that it doesn't affect you. So it takes so long and so much. It's like you go from breaking down a rock this big when I would say special forces guys are amazing. They're my heroes. Don't get me wrong, but like you got inserted in, you were there for 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks. Like, tell me when you were there for fucking 210 days in 316 firefights on one deployment. Do the math, and don't add up. You know what I mean? And so the rock's this big, or the rock's off the screen, and everybody has their own differences, their own traumas, everything. But when people look at it, oh, we only did 8 years, not to me, but like 8 years or something, and they don't have these awards, but they were fucking in combat 3, 4, 5, 600 times. That is. Think about this: Romans, Vikings. Let's talk about Vikings. Marines love fucking Vikings, right? And they have long hair and all that shit.
Yeah.
These guys would go on campaigns. They would get in small skirmishes, 2, 3 guys killed here and there. The big battles, there weren't 200 of them. There weren't 6, 7, 8, 12-hour fights, all the time. Now the Romans did entrench for months with the barbarians, stuff like that. I mean, I'm big on history, but like these battles, look at the Napoleon movie. I mean, it was shitty, but it was depicted a lot of battles. They weren't constant forever and ever and ever. The deployment system is fucking flawed, and we can get into that another time. But like some of these guys are in some serious sustained combat for extended period of times. That fucks this up. No, it doesn't. Let me take it back. It doesn't fuck it up. It changes it.
Mm-hmm.
It changes it to a point where you have to change it again. And you're not going to be the same as before.
Yeah.
That's the thing. People chase what they were before. I chased the marriage I had before all the drama. That was never going to happen. I chased being the guy I was before I started having issues from combat and the Marine Corps. That's never going to happen. You're not that age. You're not in that situation. You're not in that time. Those people are not around you. You have to change and continually change. And that's how you survive. And changing is trying new shit. And trying new shit's fucking talking about what you have. Not with a fucking doctor. I'm not a doctor, so don't take this as not medical advice. But doctors suck because they don't have a fucking clue. They want meds, money, whatever. But like this right here. I got a message. You saw it posted the other day about 3-5. The guys having issues with the holidays. I literally sent them my cell phone number. Door course. Said send it to anybody. Why? What is it going to harm me to pick my phone and be like, hey, what's up? Hey, so cool, man. What's going on? Like, we are only going to help ourselves. No doctor, no medicine, no organization, no foundation, no fucking give me money, not pay taxes. People are going to help us get to a point where we're happy. Not fix us, not make us better, help us. Understand that it's all us, that we have to do it on our own. Senior staff NCOs, commission officers, they, at the end of the day, are worried about themselves because it's a fucking career. And I'm not dogging them. I just know it. I've seen it. Right? My really good friend just retired 30 years, 16 years, made it to E7, and another 14 years made it to Major. Just retired. Just spent last night with him. He flew in for his family for Christmas, and we talked about it. At that point, they're not fixing shit. They're just in a place to run stuff. The guys that are making a difference are staff sergeants below, female staff sergeants and below. That's it. Gunnies, it gets to a point where you're in that transition to being a first sergeant, a master sergeant. It's staff sergeants and below. E6 and below is what is going to make the change in our military, no matter who the leader is. That's it.
Man, dude, I will say I knew that this was going to be a good episode, man, and it definitely turned out to be a good episode. And
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I definitely look forward to doing another one with you, man. But with
Time
that
and
being
place, dog.
said, we come to a close to it. Man, damn, this is a good episode, man. And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Don't forget to head on over to your favorite streaming platform, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, and leave this podcast an honest review because this podcast deserves to grow just as much as we do. Also, don't forget to head on over to TikTok or Instagram and follow me at Meech Speaks. That's right, Meech Speaks. Meech is spelled Meech. Stay motivated, stay healthy. I'm out.